She stood at her husband's grave and still she would not say the name. That is where tonight's Kwababa leaves us, and if you thought Mambokazi was going to crack under pressure, you clearly do not know this woman the way Gcwabe knows her. Stay with me, because tonight's episode is one of the tensest we have had all season, and by the end of this video you will understand exactly why Gcwabe is smiling on the outside while planning something much darker underneath. Let's set the scene properly before we get into the breakdown, because a lot happened tonight and every scene matters. The episode opens with the Mamokazi household still shaken from Gcwabe's bombshell in the previous episode, where he stood in front of the entire family and announced, without flinching, that Zwelakhe is not a true son of the Mamokazi bloodline. That kind of statement does not just disappear once it has been said out loud. Tonight we see the fallout, and it is heavier than anything the show has given us so far this season. We open with Zwelakhe pacing in his room, still trying to process what Gcwabe said at the family gathering. He is not shouting, he is not throwing things, he is doing something far more dangerous for a man like him, he is going quiet. Anyone who has followed his character since episode 1 knows that Zwelakhe's silence is never peace, it is the calm before he decides exactly how he is going to handle a threat. And make no mistake, that is exactly how he is treating Gcwabe right now, as a threat to everything he has built and everything he believes about who he is. Mambokazi, on the other hand, is doing what she has always done best, holding the family together with one hand while protecting a secret with the other. Tonight we finally get the scene so many of us have been waiting for, Mambokazi standing over Gcwabe's grave. The wind is blowing, the candle she lit keeps threatening to go out, and for a moment it genuinely looks like she is about to say the name everyone wants to hear. Instead, what we get is one of the most emotional monologues this show has delivered. She tells her late husband, through tears, that the two of them had agreed to tell Zwelakhe the truth together, as parents, standing side by side, not as a scandal dragged out into the open by a man like Gcwabe who has his own agenda. His death took that choice away from her, and now she is the only one left carrying a promise that was never meant to be carried alone. This is where the episode does something clever. It does not let us hate Mambokazi for keeping the secret. Instead it forces us to understand why a woman who has already lost so much would rather be seen as the villain than break a vow she made to a man who is no longer here to defend himself. Whether you agree with her choice or not, and I know a lot of you in the comments do not, you cannot say the writers did not give her a real, human reason for holding on this long. Meanwhile, across town, Gcwabe is not wasting a single moment. We see him back at Gcwabe, moving through the family compound with a confidence that honestly makes your skin crawl a little, because you know exactly what he is doing. He is not there to comfort anyone. He is there to plant himself back into a company that once fired him and pushed him out, and he is using Zwelakhe's identity crisis as the perfect opening. Tonight's episode gives us a short but telling scene of Gcwabe standing outside the Mamokazi business offices, looking up at the building like a man who believes it should already belong to him. This is where Musa comes in, and honestly, tonight might be his biggest episode of the season so far. For a long time Musa has played the background role in this family, the brother who goes along with whatever is decided for him, the one who lives comfortably without asking too many questions about where the comfort comes from. Tonight we watch that start to change. Once Musa fully absorbs what Gcwabe revealed about Zwelakhe, something shifts in him. He starts asking questions he has never asked before, about the business, about his own place in the family, about whether he has been underestimated this whole time. It is subtle, but if you know this genre, you know subtle shifts like this are usually setting up something much bigger down the line. Gcwabe clearly sees this too, and the scene where he speaks to Musa privately, choosing his words carefully, planting the idea that Musa deserves more recognition than he has been given, is one of the more chilling manipulation scenes the show has done. Gcwabe never once says outright that he wants Musa to challenge Zwelakhe for control of the business. He does not have to. He just waters the seed and lets it grow on its own. Now let's talk about the Motelang side of the story, because this episode does not forget about Bahumi and her family, even with everything happening on the Makai side. Solomon Motelang, ever the protective and steady patriarch, is shown trying to keep his household calm as news of the Makai scandal starts to reach them. Gcwabe, his wife, is far less diplomatic about it. She has spent this whole season being cautious about her daughter's relationship with Zwelakhe, and now that his very identity is in question, her worry only deepens. There is a strong scene between Bahumi and her mother where Gcwabe does not tell her daughter to leave Zwelakhe, but she does not hide her concern either. She simply asks Bahumi one question: does she love the man or does she love the idea of the family name attached to him? It is a sharp question, and Bahumi does not have an easy answer ready. That hesitation says a lot. Bahumi's loyalty to Zwelakhe is tested further tonight when she goes to see him and finds him barely willing to talk. This is a side of Zwelakhe we have not really seen before, a man who has always presented himself as composed and in control, suddenly unsure of his own place in the world. Bahumi tries to reassure him that none of this changes who he is to her, but Zwelakhe's response is heavy with doubt. He tells her that his entire life, his role as the firstborn son, his responsibility as Inkosana, his claim to the business and to the legacy his father supposedly left behind, all of it was built on an assumption that might not even be true. It is a genuinely moving scene, and credit to the performances here, because you can feel the weight of a man watching his own foundation crack in real time. Back at the family home, Mamokazi returns from the grave to find the household in a tense standoff. Gcwabe has arrived, along with Mr. Motelang, and the two men are clearly there to discuss the ongoing lobola matters between the two families. This creates one of the most awkward and layered scenes of the episode, because on the surface everyone is trying to behave as though this is simply a traditional negotiation between two families preparing for a future marriage, while underneath, everyone in that room knows there is an unresolved question about whether Zwelakhe even has the standing his family claims he has. Zwelakhe himself, to his credit, refuses to let the tension derail the negotiation entirely. He tells Gcwabe directly, in front of everyone, to stop hiding behind traditional formality and either say what he really wants or step back from interfering in matters that are not his to control. It is a strong moment for his character, showing that even while he is privately shaken, he is not willing to be pushed around publicly. Gcwabe, of course, does not take the challenge lying down. He responds with a line that has already become one of the most talked about moments of the episode, warning the family that secrets like this one have a way of destroying households from the inside, and that Mambokazi should think carefully about how much longer she wants to protect a truth that is not hers to protect forever. It is delivered calmly, almost gently, which somehow makes it more unsettling than if he had shouted it. Mambokazi does not respond with words. She simply looks at him, and it is one of those silences the camera holds just a bit too long, long enough for you to feel exactly how close she is to breaking, and exactly how much she is refusing to let herself break in front of him. As the lobola discussions continue, we get a lighter moment amid all this tension, a brief scene of celebration as the families reach an agreement on the next steps for the marriage proceedings. There is singing, there is dancing, and for a few minutes the show lets its audience breathe. But even here the writers do not let us forget the storm underneath. As the family celebrates, the camera cuts briefly to Mokumolo standing at the edge of the gathering, watching everything with an expression that suggests she knows far more than she is letting on. If you remember earlier episodes, Mokumolo overheard a private conversation involving Gcwabe, and there have been hints all season that she may be the one who eventually exposes exactly how Mambokazi's secret first got out. Tonight's brief shot of her watching Gcwabe and Mambokazi from a distance strongly suggests that her role in this unfolding drama is about to become much bigger. The episode closes on a scene that ties everything together beautifully. Zwelakhe, alone again after the celebrations have died down, walks back toward the family homestead and finds Mambokazi sitting outside, staring into the distance. He sits beside her, and for the first time in the episode, the two of them are not performing for anyone else, not the family, not Gcwabe, not the community. It is just a mother and the son she raised, whether by blood or not, sitting in silence together. Zwelakhe finally asks her the question we have all been waiting for someone to ask directly, plainly, without anger, just exhaustion. Who is my father? Mambokazi opens her mouth to answer, and the episode cuts to black before a single word leaves her lips. It is a brutal way to end the episode, but it is also exactly the kind of cliffhanger this show has built its reputation on. After everything we have seen tonight, the grief at the grave, Gcwabe's quiet manipulation of Musa, the tension at the lobola negotiations, Bahumi's doubts, and finally this moment between mother and son, it genuinely feels like the truth cannot be held back much longer. The question now is not whether Mambokazi will eventually tell Zwelakhe who his real father is, but whether she will get the chance to tell him herself, in her own words, on her own terms, before Gcwabe or Motelang take that choice away from her entirely. My honest take on this episode is that it might be the strongest one of the season so far. It slows down just enough to let the emotional weight of the paternity storyline actually land, instead of rushing from one dramatic reveal to the next. Vuyo Baila's performance as Zwelakhe tonight, especially in that final scene, carries a quiet devastation that I think a lot of viewers are going to be talking about for the next few days. And Gcwabe continues to be one of the most well-written antagonists this telenovela has produced, because he never needs to raise his voice to feel dangerous. He simply waits, watches, and lets other people's pain do the work for him. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Mamokazi should have told Zwelakhe the truth a long time ago, or do you understand why she has held on to this secret for so long? Do you think Musa is being set up to challenge Zwelakhe for control of the family business, and how far do you think Gcwabe is willing to go to get back into that company? Drop your predictions in the comments, because based on tonight's ending, I do not think we are far away from the truth finally coming out, and when it does, this family may never be the same again. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the breakdown of the next episode, because if tonight was this intense, I have a feeling things are only going to get heavier from here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.